Let's see here and just try to just close your eyes and breathe deep and slow. And take a deep breath in and relax. Okay, we're at the age of Aquarius, not the age of Aquarius, but the age of artificial intelligence, or the beginnings of the artificial intelligence age. What are
Or
your
are.
thoughts on what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence? I'll start with you, Mr. Prophet. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's pretty interesting as someone that makes content or whatever. So I'm conscious of how wording things controls what people think about them, and having watched all these new technologies be rolled out and force fed on us. And lately, we may have reached the point of saturation. The last few things they've forced on us are only half taking. People don't really want augmented virtual reality a little bit. Crypto, I mean, it's around, but it's not adopted. NFTs failed. So the phrase artificial intelligence is obviously a totally generic meaningless thing, but it sounds good on the nightly news or in an article. So the reason it's come to the forefront recently is specifically the use of large language models for predicting the next word in a string of words. I mean, it's primarily what all this, and then also some image stuff too, which isn't doing it. Well, the way that it's doing it is nothing like how the human brain is doing it. Uh, all of our work as the population clicking those captchas, click till you see bicycles, so it can figure out how to do edge detection and what objects were. They're just massive data sets. So what a computer has that we don't is unlimited storage, and it can look at it real fast, but it doesn't do all the magical things the human brain does, which is, for example, one of the problems with self-driving cars, if you put a sticker on like a stop sign or a sign, it totally, like it has no way to deal with that at all, and it might crash. Whereas a human, that's nothing. And some of these problems are, the math makes it look like there's certain limits. I just read a paper about with the large language models. There was a limit to how good they could be, but I'll give you the floor after I tell you this. Chat GPT 4 is worse at basic math than Chat GPT 3.5. And it'll give the weirdest thing. Some of the articles it's written has given okay, so it's one thing it says a false fact in the gap's internet, but it makes up attributions. Richard Roundtree was convicted of child molestation in 1986. Source New York Times. Like it'll just be something made up and it'll source it as if it's knows. Well, the goal of this isn't to be accurate; it's to get people to think it's accurate. So it learns other tricks like attributing quotes that aren't attributable.
So,
Yeah,
but so I have go ahead.
Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
Now I was going to say, but because a lot of the way AI works now is based on like binary computing. Do you think that will shift once we start going into like quantum computing? Because our brain thinks more like a quantum computer, where we can kind of intuit things. We
Well,
don't need like a whole bunch of data to be able to come to conclusions with things. Do you think once
that
quantum computing comes
you
to the
should say
forefront?
that. So, yes, you're right, but
Mm.
it still won't be like the human brain. The quantum computers basically are just going to allow instead of 1 and 2 bits, it's maybe like 8 bits or something. But the human brain, as best we can tell from like what's going on at the Large Hadron Collider, all of reality exists maybe in 17 dimensions or something. Our so much stuff is going on that we can't even
Up to 25. Yeah,
over.
it's been up to 25 now. They found it out to be M25. Yeah.
Yeah, that we can't even. How are we gonna duplicate something that we don't have the? It's green. The Vegas idea of what it is. Because our brain isn't, also our brain doesn't see reality. Our brain sees an approximation of reality that's most helpful to our survival. Remember, our body only works to help us survive, not to know the truth. So it's interesting to just think about what the difference between what a computer or a machine is doing and what our brain is doing. It's very different. And I think using the term artificial intelligence is a marketing term more than anything, because it means something, but what is exactly does it mean? It's like
Yeah,
saying a
definitely.
woman's pretty.
Yeah,
I mean,
that,
it gets my attention, but pretty is one thing to you and to me, and blah blah blah. So, but
exactly. Exactly. Now I have to say that I'm on board with Prophet on that one too. I think that it has been labeled to be a marketing slogan. It's the 21st century's clickbait. I guess. I guess clickbait only really existed in the 21st century, but that's basically what it is. I think that the dynamics of it, of what we think it is, so where it is now and where it could be potentially in the near future is completely different to where we think it could be in the future. And I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those same people who, I thought, by 2010 or by 2025, we'll be having everything thinking our thoughts for us. All right, I'm not saying that it's not potentially that way, because as Prophet said, there is still, even as you said, Richard, in your first question, it's still very, very primitive. But we were also very, very primitive at a point in time. I believe that in the future that it will, and again, like I said, we have to be very, very careful how we define what AI is and how it affects us, and not just because you say AI on one spectrum, you intend it from the other spectrum, on other spectrum too, other side of the spectrum too. Because I think what happens is that we get caught up in the fact that, okay, well, they know how to take some jobs. They know how to screw some tops on toothpaste.
it's a long ways away from what we do.
Exactly. They've been able to do that since the 1940s and 1950s.
Yeah, they
It's just
haven't made any progress. You're right. Yep.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. We're just finding ways to label it differently, And
So
unfortunately, what happens is that we get caught up in the fact that, okay, so that now that someone else is doing what we were doing before, now it's AI. No, but we didn't think about AI when the cotton gin. I'm not trying to pick fucking cotton, dude. I'm not trying to pick out seeds from cotton. But when the cotton gin came out, we were like, okay, yeah, them slaves gonna be losing them jobs. No, son. No, bro. Seriously, like it was, it wasn't as, it wasn't as dramatic as we made it out to be, and Richard knows that I used to be kind of a fatalist. I was kind of like on board because I'm always pro tech. I'm always a technophile, but I've always thought that there was limitations where we could go overboard, and I probably don't see that so much anymore, because I see that, say it working together with us. And that, unfortunately, what gets that clickbait, what gets people going to those websites, we're so fond to, all right, let's see what they have to say next. Just like when we think about nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion was right around the corner for the past 25 years. And it's still, they say it's right around the corner, even when you get advances like Neuralink, they started their first human trials 2 weeks ago or last week.
They hid a lot of the dead animals they killed.
Exactly. But in the end, how slow is it really, though? You know what I'm saying? We may think that computing may get to singularity where, for us, years or decades become microseconds. But I really don't see it being like that so much anymore. I think that what happens is that things get inflated, get conveyed so that we can create and cause a drama. You know what I'm saying? Get people to talk about it. Get people to watch the news stations. Get people to read newspapers or whatever fuck people do nowadays. I'm not sure.
It's stock. No, pump up stock. It's all about money. Nvidia, all these companies, they
I own
say,
Nvidia.
yeah. Oh, and that's when these guys come out. Oh, we're 2 years away from a computer being like God. This is ridiculous. But it gets in the news cycle. It's just, see, I'm familiar with this from the Bitcoin, because I was early in a Bitcoin, and it was clear to see early until pretty recently that it was all the news cycle.
Oh, he broke
We
up.
lost him.
Well,
Yeah.
so I have a question. Oh, he's back on.
Yeah.
I'm getting him back on.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
All the news sites for Bitcoin were run or controlled by people running Bitcoin exchanges or who own lots of it. In fact, Litecoin was created by one of the main early evangelist journalists. Like he made it. Like these are these are really like scams to some extent, which is not to say they don't have some value, but like there's a lot of just good old fashioned stock. It's not pump and dump, but it's like a updated.
Speculative. It's speculative. It's speculative. It's speculative.
Well,
This
it's
might grow.
created, it's
Put some
me
money in there.
a false seed of
Yeah,
belief to
exactly.
get people to push up stock prices and
Exactly.
etc. But they haven't. What? Let me ask you two guys something. What new tech? Okay, so when we were graduating from college in '99, right in them couple years,
You guys. I'm
internet,
younger than you guys.
the internet kicked in, and everybody started having cell phones. Those two things. So by about 2001 or so, life was pretty much like it is now because we were on the internet and we had cell phones. Now it's grown since then, but it was similar. Whereas life in 1996, like when I met you, Rich, we didn't have cell phone and we weren't on the internet all day. It feels like a whole different, like, oh, that was like a whole nother era of life, right? But what has come out since cell phones and computers that's changed your life very much? Nothing. So it's been 22 years. If technology is speeding up and so much amazing stuff is happening, why has there been nothing new that changed our life? I mean, unless you want to stupid ass social media.
Consumerism. Well, consumerism went up, but there's nothing really been highly beneficial. Well, maybe there's been some leaps and bounds in the medical field and research and stuff
Our
like
life
that.
expectancy is down, sir. Life expectancy is down.
Mm.
Millions of Americans are seeking death because fentanyl's been in the news so many years now. If you're going somewhere and buying what you know to be fentanyl, like, I mean, you're sad, but you're seeking death because there's so much.
This shit right here is death.
Our society, people are so the social bonds are so torn. No family bonds. Like, we had 100 since 2019. There's been 500,000 Americans die of OD. That's as many as World War II.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do are you blaming this on technology, or you just believe it on like the nature of our community is deteriorated?
Yes, our community is deteriorating, but I guess my point vis-a-vis the technology was, if technology is so great and fixes all of our problems, why are some of the most basic components of our life, our personal relationships, our desire to be alive, our desire to have children, our ability to have civil political discourse and not everyone act crazy in public? It's like the country's gotten more racist. It's gotten more violent. It's weird. I mean, it's like, the life expectancy of middle-aged white people has gone down for the first time in like 500 years in the United States.
All right.
In last year, white people surpassed Hispanics for the first time ever for having a slightly larger chance of being incarcerated.
Wow. Right. All right. So, Prof, can I be devil's advocate for a minute? So, Prof, do you think that it's possible that those who are the head honchos who are in charge of, technology nowadays, those big so-called conglomerates, it's
a small amount of people.
Exactly. If you want to say that small percentage, that 1% is out there, do you think it's possible that they are in charge of technology and they are in charge of making the world a worse place, not a better place?
Well, I think when you have people with Asperger's syndrome are the ones creating our social media, it's absurd. Like, socially awkward. Elon Musk is. Why are people that probably would have a hard time making friends if you put them in? They're
because even the first
social
SMS
media.
messages, were created by Nokia, the Finnish company Nokia, to help teenagers who were, shy and asocial and antisocial to communicate with their friends, and maybe these other, like you said before, these other people who Asperger's or have social interaction problems, they took on that. They rode that wave and said, you know what, we have Mr. Zuckerberg, who's probably, like you said before, probably the worst as far as social interaction as they come, and
Everything is like, oh, we're gonna like it. Oh, I looked at your picture and I liked your picture, but I didn't like you. I mean, it's
exactly,
kind of weird.
exactly.
It's kind of weird. We're just used to it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I have a question. I
Yeah.
have a question for both of y'all. So you're saying that, and this is what you're saying pretty much, Al, that we got all this technology, this saturation of technology. A, it's not helping us better. It's not making us better as a society overall. And B, we're not even adopting a lot of technology. Do you think that's because our nervous system is not caught up with how fast technology is being put out there? Like you're saying, we still have this ingrained in our nervous system is to survive. That's and to procreate our species. But
We have to
that, well,
catch
maybe
up
we're
to
not. What do you
like,
say?
why should we be changing to make sure we can use the iPhone 15 to all its capabilities? Why should our nervous system change?
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, there's some limit of what we enjoy. I remember the first one I noticed. Remember about 8 Christmases ago, they came out with the 3D TVs. They were trying to
Yeah.
sell at home.
Yeah.
I know people that bought them. The second time I went over, they pretended they hadn't bought it and they had lost their 3D glasses and they turned the 3D off because it's just not enjoyable. But a lot of marketing dollars got put into it because they're like, well, shit, everybody already has a flat panel. We got to sell them something. Tell them they need 3D. Why
So
the
you don't
fuck
think the Apple goggles are going to do good well, or
I have no desire to use them.
okay?
I mean, the planet Earth is quite interesting. I'm in a building, standing in all in a building 100 years ago. I'm already talking to you on an amazing piece of technology. What the fuck I want to have a big
But
10-piece headset on?
But
To do what?
Pornhub is better. That's
The augmented reality porn.
that goes back to the point we should be having sex with real women instead of having watching having sex on a.
The sex robots are going to be a problem. Like that's going to be an issue. Humans aren't needing other humans, and that's
exactly. But that's already been a common problem. And I'm not talking about even from a socialistic point of view, but from even a geopolitical point of view. So many countries in Europe, so many countries, even China itself, one of its biggest problems, as far as like we said before, if we want to get into the geopolitics of becoming a superpower, they have this very big problem because of the one-child policy. Now they're suffering. Now their population is starting to drain. So when we have countries that were developing 15 years ago, and now they're starting to become developed countries, such as Brazil, such as India, where they're still populating, they're becoming problematic. Japan they've been on the decline for child pregnancies or childbirths for the past
their whole population
years.
is collapsing.
So everybody's population is getting old. Even Americans' population is getting old. And
if we didn't have illegal immigrants, I think that native-born Americans are already below replacement. Like we're having less children at replacement value.
Exactly. Yeah. No, in fact, I wanted to touch on what the question you asked, Richard, about what you asked Al. I think that the main reason why, for me personally, we talked about this before. I think this is because humans, we just love conflict. Unfortunately, I like to see you suffer more than me. I know I don't want you to suffer. I just don't want to suffer as much as I don't want you to suffer. I want to suffer less than you. That's the main thing. Like I told you before. I mean, and like I said, I believe we should always remember different things such as the Holocaust, such as September 11th, such as Pearl Harbor. But we remember those dates, but very rarely do we remember days of celebration. Like I said before, 90% of the world now is like, okay, climate change, go green. But nobody remembers that on the 16th of December or 12th of December in 2015, 190 countries, apart from like Sudan, South Sudan, and Syria, who were both at war, signed a peace or a treaty to try to make the world,
But the Kyoto Accords or whatever?
Or even, no, that was even before, but no one remembers these days.
The Paris Accords or something?
The Paris Accords, the Paris Agreement. We don't remember where we came together.
Well, I don't think the U.S. really participated in that.
No,
Trump came in office right after.
Trump dropped out of it, however. Yeah, but like I said, the thing is, we remember so well when, I don't know, JFK was assassinated, September 11th, but we very rarely bind to those days.
That's an evolutionary.
Together. When did we come together for the moon landing on the 12th of July, 1969? No one really remembers. We know it happened in 1969 because 69, everybody thinks that number, but we don't remember really, those particular days, those wonderful days, because I think that personally, deep down inside, we want people not necessarily to suffer, but we don't want to suffer as much as other people. So we thrive off of the fact that, okay, I'm suffering, but not as much as you.
And this has the technology.
And that's what technology feeds us today. That's what I'm saying, right? It feeds us that clickbait that, okay, AI is right around, or like hard AI is right around the corner. They're going to be taking over everything. Like, really? Word?
Well, I spend so much time watching YouTube and all different stuff. There's actually all type of things in the infosphere that aren't stupid, clickbait, negative. But boy, the algorithm, if you make the mistake, if you have an hour or two of stupidity where you watch dumb shit, it will serve you that up.
So, just like the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland. Yep, you go down that rabbit hole. It is nonstop.
Nonsense over and over. But I watch lots of very interesting stuff. I just watched 3 philosophers talk about the meta crisis, which is the confluence of our economic, social, and climate crisis. And it was like a 2-hour calm intellectual discussion. And, there's great stuff on the internet.
Definitely.
But let me tell you something, the lower segments of society, that's who's being, the dumber people, the less educated, that's who's living on. So you get a little bit of a misleading sense of
the majority today. That's the majority
in the news, because it's the new crack is what clickbait is.
Exactly.
The new crack.
Well, you're big into digital marketing now, so you have to make your headline provocative for the majority of people for them to even click on it. So, what's the best way to make things provocative? By saying shit outrageous
with the truth, and then there's lying.
Yeah,
right. I mean, there's a difference between being manipulative and describing it in the best, describing something in the most interesting and accurate way I can, and just making some shit up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think? What do you think filters to the majority? Because, like I said, what you said was perfect, and I agree with you that so many lower rungs of society do get that, that okay, Earth is flat type of information, and there's so much out there. There's so much out there that they can go in eternity watching those videos, right? But what do you think? He left us. Okay, no. But what do you think, Richard? Do you think that when we have so much of the algorithm that feeds so many people, at what point do you think that the algorithm feeds most of the population? Remember, again, right there you go. Hey, so like I was saying, Al. So because so many of the lower rungs of society or of intelligence, or let's say culture, they get that algorithm and they get pushed, Earth
they
is
like
flat.
it.
Nobody landed on the moon, even though like 70,000 million scientists all were involved, but no one spilled the beans, right? Things like this, these conspiracy theories, they come out. But that's the majority. A man is intelligent. Man is
it just separates us from animals.
Exactly. So, but we are
a good third of the U.S. population are subhuman.
Exactly. I don't know. I think maybe more, bro.
It's across all demographics, though. It's not.
I think maybe more. But yeah, but they are the loudest. However, and sometimes people say those who speak the loudest are right. At least that's what history has taught us.
You ever watch go watch some newsreels from the
Exactly.
40s or 30s. People that were regular, dumb, uneducated people, when they would be asked a question, they would look like, well, I'm just a dumb woman from Cleveland. What do I know about World War I? But now everyone has an opinion.
Everyone knows everything.
I saw they were interviewing a dope fiend on the street in San Francisco. And instead of her just saying, I'm homeless and addicted to fentanyl, she said, due to my life of unresolved trauma and PTSD, I self-medicate with fentanyl and I am currently unhoused. Like, what?
Well, that's the woke community. So that's the woke
I feel
movement.
sorry with that. I feel sorry about her, but the thing is, I think that's what's being portrayed and conveyed.
Well,
To
everyone, Americans all think they're smart. Like, I get mad. Like, okay, you were in the military for how many years?
6.
So that's a hard task. Me and Rich went through our years of school. Like we had to one class in one semester. You got to go twice a week for 13 weeks. You got to take 3 tests. You got to turn in 2 papers. Like we did a lot. So I find myself talking to people, and you telling them something that's like a fact, and they're like, "Well, how do you know that?" And I think to myself, like, do you think like is college like on a movie? Do you think I paid the fee and I drank beer and then I got a degree? Like I took like 90 classes between undergrad and graduate school. Like, yes, I do know something you don't know. You were in the military. You know things people don't know. But the lower ends has all been trained now to think, oh well, really I'm a genius. I just have dyslexia.
I mean,
I'm
we
so
have Google doctors now. We have Google doctors now.
Andrew Tate said
type in
he's
my
so
symptoms.
smart he doesn't read books, and I was like, oh, I see why he appeals to these retards.
Who says this?
Andrew Tate.
Oh, Andrew Tate. Well, he's
that's your
the next president of the world. He'll be president in 20 years.
Well, he attracts those what's those guys that never get pussy? Those
incels. Well, there's a lot of them. You don't just attract them. He was the number one searched term on the internet at one point.
Wow.
He's very, very homoerotic. I mean, why are you doing why would Rich have his shirt off for this conversation? Right? He always has his shirt off. He has a phallic symbol in his mouth.
Exactly. Right.
People got problems.
Yeah. So, but is it? But going back to the original topic, but could that be part of some type of? I'm not saying necessarily artificial intelligence manipulation at the moment, but couldn't that be part of those who are potentially in charge of AI?
Absolutely. You want to hear a weird story?
Yeah.
So I was researching propaganda on the internet.
Okay.
So I was looking, it was a black woman, like a middle-aged black woman from Ohio. She's probably like the friend of one of my Detroit Instagram friends or something. It's a very regular person. And she had pasted into her post basically this new black woman was killed by this white serial killer in Ohio, and he's killing all these black women. Why is nobody investigating this? And I had a feeling, I was like, oh, this is something. And I could just see at the top of what she had posted, because she had screenshotted someone else's Instagram and put it. And I saw that it was one of those names like GYT_54 that wasn't real. And the account had been discontinued because it was found to be a bot. But she had reposted this story. And I looked up the story. There was a black woman murdered, but it was a very run-of-the-mill. She had been killed in a robbery. The people were arrested. No one ever said a white man in a car killed her. There was no white man in northern Ohio killing black women. But there was a story going around the internet saying that there was a white serial killer in northern Ohio in a white car killing black women, and no one was doing anything about it. But it was made up. And I thought, who the fuck's agenda would it be to sow the seeds of because lots of bad things have been done to black people in America, and especially women. So it's believable that that could be happening. It's just that it's not. You know, I looked up that particular case. Who the fuck would plant that story? What is their goal? That's pretty. That's like a character out of a Batman movie. That's like the Scarecrow. Like, you know, is it China? It's China and Russia sowing the seeds of chaos into our society, and social media is spreading it.
Yeah, but like you said before, I think that also yes, whoever it is who's trying to sow these fake news posts. I think, like we said before, it's kind of like you said before, and then I think that the problem is what comes to with AI is that they pick it up and they say, okay, you know what? I'm one of her friends on Instagram, so I'm gonna read the post, and the algorithm's gonna post it to all of my friends, and they're gonna keep it going. Because so AI is gonna purport and gonna transmit and exacerbate this how can I say this false news, or creating this hysteria, because it doesn't know. Like you said before, you put a sticker on a stop sign, it's unable to register that. It says, whoa, I see an octagon, but that's not a stop sign because it should be all red with white reflective coating. But it doesn't have white reflective coating. It has something else on it. So there must be something else. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going, and I think that's where AI, in its ignorance, it can be potentially dangerous. That of it not knowing what is a problem, it creates a problem, or let's say this, it amplifies the problem, because like you said before, it probably was removed before because they figured out it was false news. Because fortunately, some of the Meta group supposedly,
yeah, but people were copying and pasting it on their own thing.
Exactly. Yeah, so you stop it from the source. But once someone screenshots it, once someone screenshots it, you have like 20 people that post it, you might get 12 of them. But
and it was emotionally incendiary, right? It was, you hear it, you're like, what happened? And certainly things like that have happened in America. White men have killed plenty of black women with nothing happening to them. Yeah. So it's plausible, and it'll get you worked up, and yet that particular instance was made up.
Yeah. No, definitely. And then what you're going to do, Al, probably because you heard your best friend say this, you're going to look it up on Google too. You say, okay, black woman by the
people don't look it up though. I'm a researcher. I look shit up. People just repeat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think you hit it right on the nail. I think you hit it right on the nail, Prophet. I think social media and all of this technology is like the new crack, the new drug for us. It's like no matter what, the Meta, the Googles, whatever, the top, not even 1%. They just want us to be on their platform as long as possible. And so the more dramatic it is,
the new Pablo Escobar.
It's like the world wrestling of entertainment. It's this, or the soap opera, Young and the Restless. But it's now on the internet, and now we're the main characters.
Gang banging is all done online in every city, and murders have most of the murders start on social media in Chicago, LA, and Detroit, everywhere. Like that's for real.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, but the one question, and this is probably one of those type of questions that we probably have to throw up in the air and like pick it back up later on, because I think it's multifaceted. I think it's multi-layered. But in the end, what is the end game of those who are in control? That's what you have to think. A crack dealer always has an end game,
No, he doesn't.
Or to bring in more
crack dealer doesn't have it. It's
always to bring in more customers, or to keep giving it.
It's just more. Yeah. Well, I think the desire for immense wealth and power is a mental illness.
Exactly. No.
To have $1 billion and to want 10 billion, something's the matter with you.
No, exactly. No, definitely, because
if 10 billion happens to come to you, that's okay. But to want it, to wake up in the morning with a fire, I need 10 more billion to go with this 10 billion again. You're a sick person.
Until you're dead. That's the thing, because a drug pusher never wants to lose his clients unless if he's gaining another 3. And the thing is, a lot, like we said before, it's kind of like melting our brains to the point where we're unable to, to decipher or determine between real and not real. And we're
creating two societies.
Yeah.
The dumb are getting dumber and the smart are getting smarter. Because I know plenty of my friends who are more educated, sophisticated people who take an interest in their children. Their kids ain't on. You go over their house, their kid ain't staring at a screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They let them look at that shit for 20 minutes or whatever. Whereas you go in the poorer areas, the kids got cell phone. They're in the 5th grade with a cell phone. They sit while mama's smoking weed. They staring at a pad. They're in what's that book? The Aldous Huxley. He goes into the future, and there's the humans are divided into
1984.
two. The Morlocks.
No, that was Orwell. That was Orwell.
Yeah,
1984.
the Morlocks, and the so there's one set of humans that are like a better version of us. They're really smart and attractive, and then there's like these goblin people. Well, they were all from humans, and
the Brave New World or the Brand New World or something like that. With
Brave New World. Brave New World.
That's right. Yeah. Have you guys noticed the difference in the competence level of like clerks and stuff from when we were younger? Like I'll go like if I buy something, I've had this happen about 10 times, and I make a mental note of it every time because it's so crazy. I'll be buying something that's a very simple transaction. You give them. It's $13.75 or something, and then you have like, or it's $13.25, and then you have a quarter in your pocket, and you give it to them after they open the register, like to give you a solid $1, which is regular, and they will look at you like they're gonna call you, like, what you trying to do to me?
You're trying to make me do math?
Oh, I saw this girl in a suburban area, a clerk, a white girl who presumably went to a suburban school. I gave her $10. The cash registers were shut off because I was in there right as the place closed. But I was at the register. My item was $5.55. I gave her a $10 bill. Okay, you can't do it in your head. I mean, you should be able to, but that's okay. She looked at the calculator, and then she was like, "Oh no, I can't use that." She knew she couldn't use it. Then she picked up a golf pencil, and she was gonna write it on a piece of paper, and she realized she was incapable of that. And I was just like, "Young lady, you owe me $4.50. I wouldn't lie to you." And
you should have put out the advocates. You should have put out the advocates like, here you go.
She couldn't do. When I learned at the fast food restaurants that they just have pictures of the food, like the cashiers don't, like they push a picture of a hamburger and then they minus the pickle. They don't, there's no words, they don't have to read it. I was like, oh wow, that's wild.
So definitely technology is a tool that's driving a wedge between the smart people and the not so smart people. So what do you think is going to happen to like this middle class of humans? You think that they'll be non-existent? Like people who are more even moderate in thought and moderate in abilities. They're not the super brightest, but they're not. Like,
I think if you're probably on the moderate end, you're probably going to get slowly drugged to the bottom.
Wow. Okay. Unless you put the work in to get on the other side of the wave.
Unless you're particularly tenacious, it's just like anything else, or you have people such as one of us to guide and shepherd you into the brave new world.
Well, that's what I always said. The wave is coming. You better make sure you're on the right side of the wave. If not, you're gonna get crushed.
No, the tsunami is coming, baby.
Yeah. we already know Nino season, right?
The pandemic so ruined LA. It's kind of unbelievable.
Oh, LA is horrible. It's like Gotham City.
It's unreal.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's like this. They were towing cars for not parking, or for parking between 3 and 7 p.m. in a parking zone, but they would let campers just stay there, and people are shooting up.
It's right. It's crazy. It's like 1984. It's George Orwell double talk. They're going to tell you if you're a human that can pay a bill, and if you're just a destitute bum with a van, like where's all their urine and feces? Is it like in buckets in there?
Yeah, exactly.
Fentanyl is.
No, I mean, like for real, like where do they defecate in buckets?
I have no idea.
Rich,
no idea.
You're a long time Angelino.
I don't know why. I live in a good neighborhood.
Street correspondent. Okay, Richard. Can you go to the streets and see? Okay, what's going on in the streets of LA?
No, but there's rows of those campers. Those campers are unbelievable.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah. No, I used to live in Venice. Venice used to be like that. And Venice is one of the most expensive areas in Los Angeles per square foot. But it's like homeless encampments everywhere.
Dog, during the pandemic, I went to see this girl I knew over there, and we were gonna go for a walk on the beach, and we went by the beach. It was like a scene. Remember those Charles Bronson movies where they would rape his whole family and he'd have to get revenge? It was like that. There was like meth heads standing around a trash can burning something with like broken bottles in their hand looking at us. I was like, oh wow, we ain't going for no walk. Like they're gonna rape me.
Wow.
But the sad part about it is these like woke people who are, some of them are very wealthy and they're hovering around Governor Newsom like, you know what, we have to be compassionate about these people. Don't hurt them. But you know what? They go back to their fancy house and
That's right.
they're eating at their 2-star Michelin restaurant. So they don't have to deal with this day in, day out like us regular taxpayers. But that's the problem that's going on not only in Los Angeles but other big cities. So the woke would definitely be hijacked by the woke.
And it's, I don't even like the term woke. I just think it's a form of narcissism. I mean, it's people that want to feel like I'm a good person. I went down to Skid Row today, and do you know that I've been? Listen, I'm the victim in public now because I get when they want to. This white girl, I was in Verizon, and the Hispanic sales guy did not write. They fucked up my whole contract. It wasn't written right. But I was not calling him names. I wasn't like Rich. I've worked in a work environment with you. I don't act crazy in a normal environment. I save that for private. I wasn't calling him names or cursing. My voice got tight because it was so. I was like, you misspelled my name, my email address, and you didn't give me a pin. I can't even pay my bill. And this white girl who was like a 20-year-old art school student who was like 30 feet away at the other end of the store said, "Stop it. You're microaggressing people of color." And I was like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And then she acted like,
who said it? A white girl? A white girl said this to you?
The white girl said that to me. She was protecting the message from me, right? She was 30 feet away. She said I was microaggressing them. And then I was like, what did you say, little girl? Then the security came. I've had security calling me multiple Verizons, and and she had an Uber called, and they formed a human shield between me and her. And mind you, this whole time, I was just standing there talking. Like, I don't threaten people in public. Like, nothing was going on other than me telling them they're retarded and weird. I wasn't cursing, but I got to using these big words in my stern tone of voice. They formed a human shield, Rich. And mind you, this all started. Literally, the clerks misspelled my name. They misspelled my corporation name. They didn't put my address. They didn't give me a PIN, and they misspelled my email. I literally couldn't pay. I bought 5 phones from Verizon. I couldn't pay there was no way to pay the bill. I had to go in like, I want to pay the bill. And they're like, well, what's your account? I'm like, well, they gave me this. Everything was misspelled. They did everything wrong. And then they made me the bad guy. At the Verizon in Redlands, the white guy, I ordered something and I got a text. Your item has arrived. So it's a line, and it's a white loser with an iPad. And he looks, I don't see your name. You have to go to a different store. I said, dog, turn around and look. No. So he would refuse to look. So I refused to leave. So like, we're going to call the police. I said, well, hurry up and call them. Then the people, they're like, sir, you're making us scared. I said, no, I'm not making you scared. You're melodramatic. So I waited for the police. And the Redlands police show up. And the police, I know, they're used to dealing with people who misuse the 911 system. So I waited for the police.
I said, they got a high cause of Karens in their neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the world, period. So I said, officer, the clerk refused to even look for my item. Cop said, he told the clerk, turn around and look, just look. And there was a big bag that said Bradley, like literally right behind it. So I was totally, everything I said was right. He was a lazy piece of shit. Everything I said was right. And it was right behind him the whole time. And they called
you sound like Luke Wilson in Idiocracy. Did you ever see Idiocracy?
People, listen, I don't care. Like, I've been seeing people die, people I know die. I have no limited feelings left because, like, the way. like you two
Yeah.
fall into the category of real human beings. I would like,
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
but many people do not. No, but seriously though, like it's frightening. People will. Have you ever had the experience of someone's talking to you and they're trying to tell you, well, that's the way life is. You know, they're telling you about something, and you think like, hold on, that's a line from a rhythm and blues song that's popular right now, or that's in a movie. You're saying something to me from a movie, and you probably don't even know it, and you think it's deep.
But that's what we said before. We're living in a snippet culture. We're living in a snippet culture where everything is kind of force fed to us, but only in small packets, small chunks, and then we take from whatever it is, and we brandish it on our own, on ourselves, as if it's our own. You know, like you said before. I'm quoting. You know, like, yo, bro. You know what I'm thinking, man? Life is various. You know, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And I'm like, I'm making it my own, you know, like, bro, like, no, that was forced up, son. What are you talking about?
And everybody wants to be famous. It's like now, if you're not like slightly famous on social media, it's like you're like, oh, your life's a disaster.
Yeah, well, I think back in the days we looked up to celebrities. Now at least
We
it's
look
dangled in
down
front.
on them.
The carrot is dangled in front of us that everybody can be a celebrity. Everybody can be a Kardashian. So,
Oh, everybody can be a Kardashian. That's for goddamn sure, because they ain't shit at all. They're just tenacious.
Yeah, you
Tenacious Armenians.
they're digital marketers, kind of like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a digital marketer too.
Oh, the fact that he was the president of the United States and may well be the next president.
Oh, he is.
He's the
definitely the next
fourth
president.
horseman of the apocalypse. He's like something out of the Bible. Like he is the reaver of souls. He will bring the fact that he can be like I don't even get me started.
No, I agree with you. I mean, but Biden is not Biden is worse though. That's the crazy thing about it.
No,
dude.
he's not worse because his cabinet doesn't matter what Biden does. He has a normal Democratic staff and cabinet, and Biden could fall asleep at the wheel and they'll take care of it. Trump is a destructive energy of chaotic negativity. And in fact, a lot of people don't know this. A bunch of subordinates within the Trump administration refused to carry out all sorts of his orders. He had all type of weird and crazy shit. A lot of administrators just didn't do it. Like,
they're like, I put it inside. Like, okay, yeah, prayers. We'll get to it later on. It's like hope that he forgot about it, which he usually did. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Donald Trump is the type of guy that if he was driving a car and we were all in it, and he found out when we got to the destination he was going to be bankrupt and go to jail, he'd just crash the car and kill us all.
Well, you know, they're saying he's trending. 25% of African Americans are trending or are polling to vote for Donald Trump.
Hey, well, they've been trained to be the low end of the black population. Has been trained to be victims for a long time now. So Donald Trump is victimizing them and using them, and they like it.
Yeah, this is true. It's always like that girl from the streets that always falls for that dude that pimps her.
Or the gang killed my son, but I don't want to put any more black men in the criminal justice system, so I'm not going to help the police. Exactly. Well, okay, then kill them.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, on that note, gentlemen,
he got those rappers. Listen, he got Kodak Black off. NBA young, like he pardoned Kodak Black.
So everybody's cool now.
And he pardoned Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Why? I didn't know he pardoned Lil Wayne.
Yeah, so he could be at campaign appearances, which he did. That's how he's targeting
that's what a digital marketer does. That's what a digital marketer does.
Celebrities to get at the lower edges of the black population. Did you know that African Americans tweet, repost, etc. on all social media at a much higher rate than their age and income cohort in other racial groups?
Exactly.
Right. I didn't know this, but that makes a lot of sense.
I knew that too. Yeah, I knew that too.
Yeah. Well, he's just doing collabs with
Yeah,
Lil Wayne
doing collab.
and
There
Kodak
you go.
Black.
The Iowa
He's
caucus
smart.
featuring Lil Wayne in the baby.
Doing a collab. There you go. That's funny.
Well, on that note, gentlemen, it was a pleasure talking to y'all. I'll see y'all on the next one. Okay.
Yeah,
Peace.
Thank
peace out.
you.
Love
Bye.
you
Thank
guys.
you.
Take it easy out. Take it easy,
Love you
Rich.
too.
Love you guys. Bye.